afternoon, everyone that is following this conversation. Welcome to the Women's Voice, a platform where we will be sharing and discussing issues that affect women. Today with me, I have guests. My name is Annette Nyonyitono. I will be moderating the discussion today, and I have guests with me. Let them introduce themselves. I will begin with Rose. Rose, please introduce yourself and tell us about your work.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our maiden online discussion. And my name is Chigele Rose, and I work with the Women Rights Initiative, a non-profit organization in Uganda that works to support women. And you're all most welcome to this platform. We will be having regular discussions on issues that pertain women's rights as well as sexual reproductive health. And Annette, thank you for inviting us for this important discussion. And those that are following us, please feel welcome. Um, to start with, Women Rights Initiative is a non-government organization that works to serve women in Uganda, in 9 districts of eastern Uganda, particularly in Busoga sub-region. And we envision a society that values the rights of women and youth. And as such, we program and implement activities geared towards making sure that they are their lives are better and they are participating actively in the issues that affect their lives, both at a personal and country level. We have trekked this journey as Women Rights Initiative for the last 12 years, and we have 4 major programs within which we implement the projects and activities. Our major program is human rights and advocacy, and on this program, we support families to overcome violence and live peaceful and healthy lives. And we also have a program for sexual reproductive health and rights, which we do both in communities and schools to ensure that girls stay in school, but also to ensure that families understand and parents understand the importance of supporting girls to stay in school. We economically also empower women in our program, and with this, we support them to have access to financial resources and skills. But most importantly, we also consider the leadership aspect because to be able to be successful in your life and in the lives of their families and communities, leadership is a very important aspect. So this is what we have been doing for the last 10 years, and I'm happy to share more with you as we go on. Thank you, Annette.
Thank you, Rose. Please, Eddie, introduce yourself.
Women Rights Initiative here in Jinja. We are using this forum to advocate for the rights of women, not only in Uganda, but world over. And our online engagements ensure to attracting partners online, stakeholders in Uganda, but also in the world. And on this platform that we are on right now is intended to cast the net wider to ensuring that in terms of contribution, in terms of networking, in terms of participation to uphold the rights of women is welcome. And this discussion is the maiden discussion we are having. And we shall be having a series of this to ensure that we can help our mother Africa, but also our mothers out there that are suffering because of lack of emancipation, because of lack of awareness, but also poverty that is a result of gender-based violence. Thank you, Annette.
Thank you so much, Eddie. So I'll begin with Rose. Someone out there would want to understand what is this monster that is eating away the rights of women?
Thank you, Annette, for that question. Um, the biggest monster that is eating away our rights as women is gender-based violence. Gender-based violence is an issue that has affected countries world over, families, internationally, nationally, regionally, and locally. And it comes with quite a number of issues. When I talk about gender-based violence, someone that is following might ask, what is gender-based violence and how does it come into play? Gender-based violence simply is a state within which individuals within a family or a community find themselves physically, emotionally, psychologically, financially affecting one another. And in this way, the person that is affected might have gross or irreversible side effects on their lives, in the lives of the people that they are going to live with. For example, if it is a child, you find that a child grows up with vicarious trauma, and if it is an adult, they are unable to cope with life and the situations that will happen to them in the future. So GBV has not only affected Uganda, but it has been an international issue world over in for quite a long time. And we are here today to begin speaking about it boldly and widely and sharing views with you stakeholders and members of the local and international community to understand it better, but also to find ways through which we can work together to ensure that we bring this monster to an end. Thank you, Annette.
Thank you, Rose. Maybe we would want to understand how has GBV manifested itself in the lives of women and youth? Certain that that is a target group for your organization.
GBV, especially in the Busoga sub-region where we work, has manifested itself mostly in three major stages, I would say, or types, as one would call them. The first one and most common one is sexual violence, a state where a partner or someone sexually decides to abuse you or take or rob you of your ability to accept, to engage in a manner that allows you to accept to sexually engage with them. It can be in form of rape, it can be in form of defilement for young children, it can be in form of intimate partner violence or marital rape, and this has manifested a lot in eastern Uganda. And this has been because of a lot of issues that have happened. To start with, because of poverty, but also because a lot of families in the culture setting believe that it is okay to just take someone, marry them off when they are young, and get dowry out of them, or you have a right as a person to just abuse the body of a woman when they haven't really permitted you to be able to do it. So um, that is one of the ways in which violence has manifested itself, especially in the region where we work. But also, we have financial abuse. This has escalated mostly because of the pandemic, when we went down into the lockdown and we couldn't work, and a lot of families um, lost income, but also because a lot of families, even before the pandemic kicked in, we are struggling to earn an income. In Busoga sub-region, we have a lot of sugarcane growing, and as such, not very many families have space to do farming and to do all the activities that might bring in an income to them. And so this really has escalated the rate at which violence affects the families financially. And very many members of the family, heads of families, the fathers have left homes, have neglected responsibility, and as such, you find that if the poverty kicks in, the girls find themselves in a state of helplessness, and they are then lied to or coerced into acts of sexual violence because their financial incomes and earnings are very low and their parents cannot be able to provide as they should. And so financial violence has critically affected the way families are handling it, and because then the mothers have to struggle to find or to make ends meet, they have less time to take care of the children and the families, which really brings in an effect to the families. But also, lastly, we have had quite a number of cases, especially that have been reported to us as an organization, to the Uganda police, who are our partners, of physical abuse. Instances where parents or guardians are fighting over quite a number of issues and they physically harm themselves. In this instance, we also have retaliation now of also the wives, the women also beating the men, and also the men getting back to them in a more heated manner. And so those are the three major types of violence that have manifested themselves in the eastern region. And we believe that we need to be able to make change. Thank you, Annette.
I understand that for GBV, but to be specific, what could be the cost of GBV in Uganda?
Thank you, Annette, for that wonderful question. When we look at GBV in terms of the cost, it's really something that we have to pay attention to as a country, but also as states internationally. Because when we look at the statistics, at individual, at community, at family, and I would say at international level, the cost is enormous. The consequences are huge, especially when you look at the economic consequences, the parameters, because it is estimated that gender-based violence incidents cost in Uganda only, where I'm talking about the economy, we have a cost of 77 billion annually. What does it mean? It means that the country is losing money. It loses money by taking care of survivors of gender-based violence, by paying money in courts of law to make sure that the perpetrators as well as the survivors the perpetrators are brought to book, but also the survivors have access to justice. When you look at the cost in terms of health, that is enormous because when you have someone that is physically abused, for example, you have a child that has been defiled, the stages that we go through to make sure that this child begins to recover and become the normal person that they were away from the trauma is enormous. So 77 billion for Uganda would do much, even if we just took that amount of money to build health centers, to perhaps give our girls and boys community rehabilitation spaces or spaces that they can go to be able to learn a skill. It will really do much. So we can't overlook violence because if we overlook it as a monster, it will eat us up. And it will eat us up. And at the end of the day, we will have very impoverished communities. Thank you, Annette.
Thank you, Rose, for that oversight, giving us that picture. As an organization, you shared that you've been working in the Busoga region. Specifically, what have been the interventions to respond to GBV?
Thank you, Annette. I want to say that our interventions start with networking and partnerships. We have been working with different non-government organizations, civil society organizations, to ensure that as we do this work, we are able to come up as a team to be able to give this message or present our interventions to the communities that have been affected. So we work with local government to ensure that as we are doing this work, they give a supportive role, because what we do is work that allows us to to supplement government efforts. So we work with the provision officers in the various districts. We work with the local government, the local councils at LC level where cases are reported and then referred to police or reported into to us as WORI, but also to our partners. We also ensuring that we are working with courts of law because access to justice can only be achieved in the parameters of law. And so with the different departments and in the local government, we have partnerships with the regional referral hospitals and the local health centers in different districts who handle cases of violence, who treat and give emergency medical aid to our survivors that have been affected. But we also are working with the private sector. The private sector has also come in because they are concerned about this. Because if they have unhealthy families, unhealthy workforce, they really can't be able to achieve their goals. So we have partnered with them to be able to work, and our interventions have been through partnerships. The other intervention that we have done is building and managing a GBV shelter. We have a GBV shelter, the largest shelter in Uganda, and it is called Nyonga Women's Shelter. Our followers and viewers can check it out. And we offer rehabilitation services to survivors of gender-based violence, which include legal aid, they include counseling, they also include safe shelter, but also we have included a component of skilling survivors and this we call the Nyonga Skilling Initiative, where we skill survivors that require this service so that when they go back to communities, they feel safe, they feel energetic, they feel empowered, and also they are able to determine what they want to do with their lives. With this department or with this component, we give skills based on the need of the survivors and their interests, because we believe that the survivors know or the victims know exactly what they want, and they are in a better position to make decisions on how they want their life to be. So we guide them on how they can go about this, and when they decide on a skill to take on, we skill them, and then when they go back to their communities, they are able to start somewhere, to be able to earn an income, because poverty is identified as the major cause of gender-based violence. So working and having interventions that will lead us there, to us makes sense. Thank you, Annette.
Thank you, Rose. I'll come back to you when you have to share the challenges that you have faced while taking on this journey. But I'll now cross over to Eddie. Eddie, maybe for our viewers, we want to understand. I know that you're familiar with the work that WORI does. For the interventions that you have undertaken, which are those that have been successful or that have really yielded results?
Thank you, Annette and Rose, for those insights. For purposes of viewers, I like it when Rose says that women also beat us, and we suffer silently. And I have learned that we do not have a voice because it is not in the African setting that women are expected to beat men. So at some point, probably we also have to get a safe shelter for men, where I have to keep us so that we can also be able to be saved. But that was on a lighter note. But for purposes of our stakeholders online, we have been undertaking interventions as WORI for the last over 10 years. But now we are thinking of rebranding ourselves into a program setup where we want to have different interventions to kind of uplift that scale of work that we've been doing. And as a result of that, we have established a new strategic plan to give us strategic direction on how we should be able to fight the scourge of gender-based violence. And this comes from from knowledge that gender-based violence cases have increased, majorly because of poverty, But secondly, because gender-based violence is ingrained into the cultural setting of the districts where we operate in the 9 districts of Busoga sub-region. But thirdly, COVID-19 has really battered, shattered, and tattooed communities that the level of dependency of women on men has yielded into more cases of gender-based violence to the tune of over 30% currently. But to go back to specifically the strategy, we have a strategy that is focusing on 4 major interventions. First of all, increasing access to gender-based violence services within the communities. But also related to gender-based violence, we have cases of sexual reproductive health rights violation, which we intend to, in addition to GBV, handle. But thirdly, we want to ensure that we do strengthen the capacity of the women, of the survivors, of the youth, to ensure that we can reduce dependency and increase and reduce cases of gender-based violence, because we have realized that poverty directly leads to increase in cases of GBV. But fourthly, we want to establish institutional capacity to ensure that we, the organization, be able to implement the activities that we have planned to do over the next 5 years. And one of the interventions we have thought that we should do is to bring this subject to light. Many persons within communities, even households, or including corporate organizations, people suffer cases of gender-based violence. And this online platform that we call the Women Voice is intended to ensure that we bring this to light and everybody sees what it is, knows what it is, manifestations of gender-based violence, how it affects people, how it shatters people's economic lives, how it shatters dreams of people, such that people can get to know what it is. And when Rose mentions the different forms through which gender-based violence manifests itself, these interventions of these program areas that I've just mentioned to you are some of the key strategic interventions that we intend to use to ensure that that we help communities understand. But we have also learned that we need to understand the operating environment through which we're operating. I've already told you that COVID-19 has shattered communities, and as a result, we have been able to see an increase in cases of gender-based violence. And as a result, WORI is trying to re-understand, reconceptualize the effect of COVID-19 on the increasing cases of gender-based violence, and how best we can identify different sources of funding to ensure that we do what? We do bring the numbers down to manageable levels. But secondly, the strategic plan offers us a proactive kind of direction to ensure that whoever is listening to us, whoever is partnering with us, can identify or can identify specific project areas or program areas that they can support as we drive towards having results, as we drive towards having impact, but also as we try to identify, to ensure that as many women, as many youth, as many girls as possible are rescued from the pangas of gender-based violence. And of course, this requires sufficient financial resources. And at this time, we are driving a very elaborate fundraising campaign to development partners, including foreign missions, including embassies, including international organizations, including local organizations, but also communities where we are, so that we can identify the specific approaches or the specific financial wherewithal that we can use to engage in the activities Rosa has mentioned, to ensure that we can curb cases of gender-based violence. But most importantly, we are trying to engage in research This research is intended to ensure that we try to understand the subject of gender-based violence from how it affects people, how it manifests itself, to the different cultural values that we can promote, but also to identify those negative practices within the communities that are so dangerous to a common person, that are so dangerous to a woman and a girl, that we can demote, we may not promote. We want to partner with cultural institutions. We want to partner with religious institutions, identify, probably to use their structures to see how best they can help us to decampaign the negative practices that are happening within the communities that do promote cases of gender-based violence. But most importantly, we want to contribute to national debate. We have all over the last 10 years operated in Busoga sub-region, but we now want to go regional. We want to go national, and we want the researches that we have been undertaking as an organization inform national debate on issues of policy of gender-based violence, probably to identifying or creating positive images, positive communication that are aimed at enhancing behavioral change communication. In that, I think we shall be able to take worry to another level. And of course, this serves to as a clarion call to government institutions, development partners, international NGOs, already our partners that we're working with, to ensure that we join hands and we ensure that we reduce the scourge of gender-based violence in the region. I thank you, Annette. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Eddie. I'll cross over to Rose. Rose, please share with us the challenges that you have faced, because I know that this kind of work is not easy. We want to understand how this has been challenging and how you intend to navigate through these challenging times, because now COVID has turned everything upside down.
Thank you, Annette, and I will start from this particular platform. And thank you, Eddie, for the elaborative segment of our next 5 years and how we envision them. And just, I will start from that very note, Annette, to inform our viewers and followers that one of the things that we want to focus on, and indeed have started, is having exchanges with stakeholders, with both the regional and international level on issues of GBV and SRH, because these are critical issues that we cannot no longer run away from. And having topical online discussions like this bring us closer to understanding what other people are doing in other regions, how best we can implement the strategies that Eddie has mentioned, and most importantly, how the persons that we are mandated to serve on their behalf are in this story to be able to give us the exact issues that are affecting them, that keep on changing from time to time. This is one of the ways through which we are going to be able to do this. And also, just like Eddie mentioned, it, of course, quite a number of challenges have manifested themselves, especially because the pandemic has taken almost 24 months of our lives, and a lot of issues have surfaced, like early pregnancies, like unwanted and early marriages, like the cost of how GBV has overturned, because in the previous instances before COVID, we would see quite a number of women reporting cases, but now we are also seeing men reporting cases, and the challenges that they come with are the resources. First, the resources that we have to be able to execute the different issues that affect us in terms of violence, or that affect communities in terms of violence. Secondly, the link up of different stakeholders and how they bring on board different services, different segments of ideas, of activities, but also of strategies that can have a whole roundup of supporting whoever has been affected or whoever is at risk. So that is what we need to be able to work on, because we have been working on it, but it hasn't come out clearly and sufficiently as it should. And we believe that this is something that we need to be able to elevate or to work with better. And lastly, but most importantly, we have to be able to tap into the resources that are locally available. To tap into that, because the government of Uganda, for example, has put out quite different provisions for the citizens of Uganda, both men and women, to be able to tap into financial resources. When you go to the districts, there are quite a number of funds. There are the funds for the women, there are funds for the youth, there are funds for Emioga. We have quite a number of different strategies that the government of Uganda has put into place to be able to support the citizens of Uganda. And there's also a specific fund for women, where women that are gathering together in an association and are doing business can go and apply for these funds. And our role is to be able to support them, to organize them, and to be able to inform them of the different services that are being provided both by government, by private sector, but also by other civil society organizations, so that we have a component of Ugandans and people in the communities that benefit from these services and programs, but are able to, at the end of the day, they are able to tell a success story that is conversant with what our state goals and strategies are set right now. And yet I think that that is something that we are going to be able to work on right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaking of resources, back to you, Eddie.
Yes.
Maybe we want to understand, besides donor funding, because we know that the shelter to run effectively, it needs continuous supply of basic necessities, of because I understand that the shelter is quite giving a number of services, which needs a lot of resources to keep it going. So besides donor funding, has Warri thought about activities or initiatives that are income generating in nature to sustain the shelter beyond donor funding?
Thank you, Annette. First of all, I would want to, there's a viewer here, Javira. Javira thanks us for the job well done. Thank you, Atwine Javira. And indeed, GBV is a silent evil that is eating up our society, like you're mentioning. But I can, in one of our strategies, like you have mentioned here, we are going to be working with religious leaders, but also include village health teams to ensure that we have foot soldiers that can help us. Javira, thank you for that observation. But specifically, uh, COVID has changed the funding architecture of most civil society organizations, and we at Warri we are cognizant of this. In our next strategic plan, we have gone entrepreneurial, and we are setting up a lot of innovations in the next 5 years to ensure that we can identify sources of funding, to ensure that they can help us finance some of the planned interventions. I will mention some of them. For example, we have social businesses that we are intending to set up, one of which being the Star Durable sanitary pad, and we are calling it the wash and wear pad. We know that one of the causes of gender-based violence, violation of sexual reproductive health issues is a lack of sanitary pads for young girls, but also for women in societies. And you know that the financial dependency syndrome communities have, women in these communities cannot afford to have a single sanitary pad. And on the market, a sanitary pad packet, synthetic, goes for about 3,500, 5,000 shillings, depending on the type. And we have realized that we can manufacture, we can process in bulk these sanitary pads and sell them at very subsidized prices to some of these women and even schools in the rural areas to be able to raise some little money to finance some of our activities. Secondly, we intend to establish a model farm, a demonstration farm. This demonstration farm is supposed to be the center of agricultural innovation and science. And we shall be growing crops, we shall be raising animals, including goats, including cows, including poultry. One, we can do that for food, but secondly, we are going to be using that as a demo center for communities around. But thirdly, we intend to be using some of the products that we're intending to harvest from the farm through value addition, put them on the market and be able to raise some monies to finance most of the activities that we intend to have. But thirdly, we want to establish the very first East African Women Museum. And in this museum, we're going to have artifacts of culture, artifacts of innovations, stories of change of women within the region, but also within Uganda and probably the world, that can be used as sources of encouragement for women to start up their own businesses. But also this museum that is supposed to be online and also physical is a marketplace for women entrepreneurs that can be able to to, to showcase their products and access market for these products, and be able to also pay some of the percentage that are selling out to the market because of the market access to worry, be able to generate some of this financing. We know that Ginger is a tourist hub, and we intend to attract some of these tourists to our center, the Women's Museum, and through subscription or membership or entry fees, we can be able to raise some little money to be able to implement some of the planned activities. The skilling initiative is going to be opened, and you know that under the skilling initiative, we train women and youth different trades and occupations, including tailoring, including carpentry, weaving, including we shall be introducing carpentry and many other occupations. And we think that through partnership with the Directorate of Industrial Training, we can partner with them to certify some of these programs and be able to train the community generally, including those persons that are not affected by GBV, ensure that we can be able to raise some monies. Fourthly, we know that we want to engage in a very rigorous fundraising drive. We have learned, for example, yesterday that the government of Sweden, through SIDA, is supporting issues of sexual reproductive health and rights. And I think very soon they shall be having one of the first conferences. I'm not sure about the dates. I think it's 26th, 28th on GBV and sexual reproductive health rights. It's going to be virtual and physical, with support from the United Development Fund and the Children's Support Program. We intend to engage in these spaces and identify how we can be able to be able to identify partners that can work with us, and I encourage ourselves to do that. But also persons out there who think they have a cause to promote women, promote empowerment of women, are always welcome. Our online platforms are going to be the anchor for this. We have a lot of volunteers. We are going to engage in crowd fundraising. We are going to engage in small income generating projects at office, like bakery, like weaving, like fundraising drives. We really think that these are pertinent issues that a person should always anybody should be interested in. And it doesn't mean millions. It means that 1,000 that you have in your pocket, that is pocket change, to bring you to worry, and we are able to make a difference in our mothers. That are the mothers of society, that the mothers of you and I, and everything is going to be all right if you participate in these fundraising drives and financial sustainability moves. Thank you very much, Annette.
Sharing such brilliant ideas. Rose, you are speaking about key stakeholders and partners, but to be specific, I know that there is a line ministry regarding gender and issues of GBV, how would you want this ministry or the government to support this kind of work besides the monitoring and evaluation role?
Thank you, Annette. That's quite a good question, because when we are with the kind of work that we are doing, we have a line ministry, which is the Ministry of Gender. And while we do this work, it doesn't only, but it gives an insightful role. What we would want the ministry to be able to do, especially for the work around GBV, is to have an inclusive role, because we are, as non-government organizations or as civil society organizations, we supplement government efforts. So as government should be the number one funder for GBV business, I would say. But not only funding in terms of what they can give from the government of Uganda, but bringing international partners to bring them closer to community, to understand the dynamics of what happens in community, such that if programming is being done at national level and at international level, they are inclusive, they are aware of how to program inclusively, including not only doing a monitoring role, but also setting aside budgets to support survivors, especially giving more funding to these departments where we take the cases, like the police, the Family and Child Protection Unit, which really needs a lot of support in terms of even equipment like cameras, like laptops to record cases, like vehicles and motorcycles where they can go to the communities easily to be able to apprehend survivors, but also to rescue perpetrators. We need to be able to have an increased budget for these particular departments, even the courts of law, because you also realize that the cost of handling a case of GBV is quite enormous. So the health centers being given more equipment, but also the doctors and health workers being facilitated more to be able to handle issues of GBV in a more pertinent way, but also to, I would say, to have them come first, because if they don't come first, they have a lot of, I would say, negative effects to the lives of women and children, but also the economy loses, because if we have unstable and unhappy families, there's a cost. If people are not working and they are not settled, the government is going to lose in terms of taxes, and that can't work for government. And I would also want to say that as we usher in the 16 days of activism, because we internationally, the days were set to be able to create more awareness about gender-based violence. As we come into these days, we are going to be speaking a lot about what can be done. What is your role as an individual? Because when we talk about violence, some people see it as an issue that is very far from them. They never stop to think that it can happen to your sister, it can happen to your brother, it can happen to your child. You can be a victim also. We are not very susceptible to violence, and so in these 16 days of activism, we are going to be coming back to you to have live discussions on how best you can be able to support a survivor. Because even just reporting a case of violence is already supporting. Even just allowing someone to know about what they are doing being wrong is also something that we can do. So, Anita, I think that is where I can stop now.
Thank you, Rose. Maybe Eddie, speaking more about partners, because I know that this work to respond or to prevent GBV cannot.
Yes.
How are you
The media. Did you say the media?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. Of course, the issue of gender-based violence cannot be fought without the media. And in all our interventions, we must identify provisions where the media is very and strongly active in ensuring that they keep as a voice for that woman and girl out there. And we intend to bring on board the local media, the international media, but also the online media to ensure that they support us into this. There's one thing, undertaking activities like we have mentioned them, but another issue is how can we create impact through creating that behavior change communication. Behavior change communication can only happen if we have a strong partnership with the media. We really want to have media engagement with Baba TV, with NBS Television, NBS Radio, Soga One, Basoga Baife, to ensure that we can revibrate this message out into the community, to ensure that we can create that behavior change communication. And probably for purposes of knowledge, I want us to, as I conclude this discussion, I want our viewers to learn that we're engaging in a study, and this study is trying to establish how GBV is a silent monster within the region, and how it basically affects our women, our girls. And we want to be using this as a basis for our baseline to ensure that we can implement activities from an informed perspective. In our interventions, we shall be looking out to all local, national, international partners as stakeholders to inform the discussion and the study. And the study shall result into the very first international electronics and physical symposium that war is going to have to ensure that we can revibrate this message of fighting gender-based violence into the communities, but also to ensure that everybody is brought on board. And probably we think that this can feed into our International Women's Day sometime in March last year. Already preparations are ongoing to ensure that we identify sources of financing for this study. We are happy to learn to know that we have partners like the GIZ under the CAS program that has been supporting us. We think they can still support us in this engagement. But we are going to be knocking on the doors of our present partners, including the Urgent Fund program, the OSIA, Siatini, and many other partners to identify how best we can identify sources of financing for this study. And lastly, I want to call upon each and every person to support us, but also to strengthen our capacity as an organization to ensure that each one of us is a keeper of each other in terms of fulfilling our strategic direction. And we think that if we have a concerted effort, our online viewers, our online listeners, our international partners, I know we have many of them. Let us strengthen our capacity in terms of honing ourselves together to ensure that GBV can significantly reduce as we head towards the next planning period we have set out as WORI. I want to thank you so much. Yes, back to you.
Thank you so much, Eddie. For those that are just joined this conversation, this is the Women's Voice. Thank you, Eddie. For those that have just joined this conversation, this is the Women's Voice, a platform where we are going to be sharing issues that concern and affect women. And we thank those that have been following this conversation and those that have given us your views and comments. We are so grateful, and we hope that you'll be following us for more learning and sharing and more engagement. Rose, please, in your last remarks, please, I would want you to add more on, because I know Eddie shared some of the information about reporting, because you mentioned that part of the way women are abused includes sexual abuse, which in most cases we have seen news kind of abuse. So we want you to probably share with us how you would want the media to be supportive while reporting these specific cases.
Thank you, Annette. You know the media is the fourth state, and this is a very powerful arm that allows communities in the change in the reporting. We would like that when they present cases and they air them out on their different social media platforms, and when you report about interventions happened on behalf of the different stakeholders that are involved, it usually gets a natural death. So in the instances of reporting, they should be able to make follow-ups on what happened on particular cases that they reported to. But would be it should be they should have a way in which some of the cases they need to be able to reintegrate back into society. And you know the media has gone in is in different states. We have very many videos going viral of different things happening, but as a reporter or someone that is taking up this video about an incident, be conversant of how you're handling it and understand that the lives of these people will continue even after this incident. So understanding how best to report, but also how best to follow up makes makes it more understanding and more, I would say it would give more meaning because it allows whoever is following up on this conversation to help, to come in, to do their part. And as I also give my closing remarks because we are coming to the end of the show, I really want to say we are very thankful for whoever has supported us for the last 10 years, all our development partners, all the individuals, the volunteers, the interns, the stakeholders, both local and international, that we have worked with to be able to see ourselves here. And we are saying for the next 5 years, you're going to be seeing us on your screens, discussing these very critical issues and learning and unlearning together, but most importantly, working together as a team to ensure that GBV and sexual reproductive health issues are handled in a more pertinent way, and that at policy level, government considers these issues at the core and forefront of one of the things that can allow our as a result of violence. And I want to thank the GIZ, the Open Society Initiative for Eastern Africa, the Urgent Action Fund, and all our other partners that have been with us and continue supporting our work because we are still here to serve the communities. Thank you, Annette.
Thank you, everybody. Keep liking this. Keep watching on our social media networks. This footage is available. You can tune back and listen to the interventions we have mentioned. And we love you so much. And bye for now.